Council meeting of March 3rd, 2025 to order. Abby, please call the roll.
Mayor Walby?
Here.
Councilmember Burgess?
Here.
Councilmember Karen?
Here.
Councilmember Frederick?
Present.
Councilmember Rubello?
Present.
Councilmember Rusi?
Here.
And Councilmember Vitale.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2 is proclamations and presentations. We don't have any, but we do have our new finance director, treasurer, John Walters here. So welcome. It's glad you're here. We appreciate that. I think you started?
Yes, started today.
Started today. So welcome to St. Clair Shores. We appreciate it. Glad to see you.
Thank you. Coming back tomorrow?
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday. All right.
Item 3 is audience participation on agenda items. 2 minutes. Do we have any?
No, we do not.
Item 4, we needed some additional information, so that we'll wait till we get the additional information before bringing that back. Item 5 is a request to adopt a resolution to add Civic Center Drive to the local street network for Act 51 reporting. Mr. Lent,
Yep, Mike
Mr. Ruffleton. And then I think we got a couple pictures too of the area here that I think is in question here that you want to do.
Yeah, good evening, Council. So part of annually for Act 51 funding and just general state reporting, we need to report the streets that we own as either local, major. We can, add streets, remove streets, whichever. In this instance, we are looking to add this about 350-foot section of drive from Pleasant to pretty much the border of that north-south Civic Center parking lot there to our local street network. The reasoning for this is pretty highly trafficked area. People, residents and contractors and just about anybody uses it for cut through, just kind of through traffic, access to the Civic Center. It's right next to the SEMSD building, so I'm sure it gets some use from that as well. Currently, it is in a pretty bad state of disrepair just from, those aforementioned measures and some of that construction from the new SEMSD building. So we were looking to add that to our local street network so we can use Act 51 funds to help repair that.
Questions? Move to approve. Moved by Mr. Frederick.
Supported.
Supported by Ms. Burgess. Ms. Rusi.
Okay, I think Dave said the support, not.
Well,
Was both did, both people?
I heard Ms.
Okay,
Burgess.
and I heard Dave, so, okay.
So it's Ms. Burgess.
Okay. This is a portion of the Civic Center parking lot.
Yeah, so according to the actual original plat map from like 1930, it used to be Rosewood Drive, I believe, before the Civic Center and all that was there. And then, but it was still a public street. The city still owned that, greater area there. And then, when the Civic Center was built, it became part of the parking lot. So we're essentially just kind of re-adding, about half of it back to our street network so we can use actual street funding to help repair this area.
It's kind of odd to call a part of what we call a portion of the parking lot a street. Okay, thank you.
Is it your pen, Mr. Vitale?
No, but actually, since you thought it was, I will comment. I will comment that I'm in that area quite often, and I do definitely see the traffic that goes through there. That's everybody coming through to Industrial Park with a heavy truck or something like that. It gets a lot of use.
Yep.
So I use it myself to kind of stay away from the resident streets and stuff like that. So.
Mr. Rubello.
Mike, is basically just a housekeeping thing here? Is that what this is?
This one's a little more than the housekeeping just because we're trying to add this to the network. So if we do successfully add it, then we are able to use the state funding to do repairs to this area. But I mean, otherwise, yeah, it's essentially just us asking the state that we can add this to our local street system and be eligible to, use that funding for
That's part of
repairs and
Act
everything.
51.
Yes,
Okay, thank
absolutely.
you.
With this along as well too, so when we submit our Act 51 reporting to the state, our funding is based on the amount of miles and the distance of the streets that we own. So if the state approves the adding to this, I mean, it's negligible, it's gonna be a very small amount, but the amount that we would receive back from the state would be up a little bit higher.
Mr. Karen?
So does the state have a criteria what qualifies as a street?
I think the only thing they really specify on their resolutions and the kind of booklet they give us is pretty much as long as it has public access. They have a little bit more, they're a little bit more stringent and actually review things if we're looking to add it to the major street system. But I believe for the local systems, it's pretty much as long as the public's able to access it at any given time. I'm pretty sure that's really their only requirement.
Okay, so since this is part of a parking lot, why wouldn't we just be using the street millage that qualifies as parking lot starting July 1st, instead of reclassifying it for Act 51?
I mean, that would absolutely be an option as well, but I think just because of the volume of traffic that this particular spot receives, and the current condition that it's in, I think if we were able to use some Act 51 money on it, I think that would just go further, and then we could focus that money more on some of the alleys that we need that are in disrepair or other parking lots.
We have reserves in all the accounts today, right?
But do we have enough in the reserves to
How much does
address
that
what we
cost to
need to?
repair? What's the estimate?
350,000?
Yeah, that's in the reserves. So.
But
Okay.
that in lieu
I
of
guess
using that
I'm-
money for alleys or something instead, I guess you could look at it that way.
The council included parking lots and alleys.
Right.
And streets when they changed the language of the millage, right? So that comes available July 1st.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I'm just, as I thought about this more, it's like, I'm just not comfortable with kind of like reclassifying a parking lot as a street just to qualify for different funding. Just too many of the different things that have, how we handled all the ARPA funding and all that moves around. I'm just not comfortable doing these type of things anymore, so.
So it was technically platted as a street back in the day. So, I mean, I guess when
95
they.
years ago.
Sure, absolutely,
And
but
it's
it was.
been- And it's been a parking lot as long as
Yeah.
I've been alive.
Yeah, no,
There, so, thank you.
Ms. Burgess?
So you said it was a street, way back when. When I look on this and when I drove by there, I mean, it really does look like a street more than a parking lot. With the people that aren't going to the Civic Arena when they're driving on it. What would you rename it? I mean, is it gonna be called Rosewood again, or?
Civic Center Drive, I mean, I
Center
guess
Drive.
that can be open for discussion, but that's just kind of what we arbitrarily have it as right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Vitale?
Actually, this kind of did get me thinking about something. I think Ms. Pike and I may have accidentally discovered a sidewalk that we're not sure if the city owns the property, or she was looking at some plat maps and things. Is there anything parallel to this, and maybe not Act 51, I don't know, but that would allow city-owned sidewalks to be maintained?
I mean, we just have money set aside every year for our sidewalk program, and that is for both, kind of residential
I
sidewalks
understand.
and city-owned sidewalks,
I guess
so.
the idea of being is, are any other cities potentially using state dollars?
I don't
this.
believe those would I don't believe sidewalks would
Do
classify for
does
state
it
money.
have to be a motorway, or?
Yeah, for Act
there's
50,
language like
for
that?
Act 51, yes, it has to be a roadway.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Moved by Mr. Frederick, seconded by Ms. Burgess to adopt the resolution adding Civic Center Drive to the city's local street network and Act 51 map. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
5-2, it passes. Thank you. Item 6, bids, contracts, purchase orders. Request to award the sanitary sewer cleaning CCTV project. Mr. Freckleton?
So, Annually, we like to do a cleaning and televising program for our sewers, for our sanitary sewers, so we can, continue to know where we need to do root treatment, where we need to do sewer lining, and just have these things on record so we know, so we're aware of the conditions of everything and, where repair areas might need to be. For this instance, we're looking again in this sewer District 3 between 9 and 10 mile roads from west city limit to Jefferson. Duke's Root Control came in with their low bid for approximately $300,000. And we are, hoping to award it to them. They've worked in the city before and TV and root control programs. And so we know them, we trust them, and we think they'll do good work.
Questions? Ms. Rusi?
Thank you. I see we have the engineering letter and the bid tab. Did I miss like the thumb drive or something with the actual RFP and the bid docs?
I can absolutely get that to you.
Yeah, we've stated many times that when we approve a bid, it's nice to have the RFP and the bid docs accompany it. We always do, and it's odd that we don't for this, and I think we don't have that for B either. So going forward, I think that's important for us to have to look at. Sometimes the language in the bid itself, sometimes what they submitted, we have questions on too. And I don't know if I have questions right now because I haven't seen it. Thank you.
Mr. Vitale?
I was just going to mention that we had 5 bids on this project. Duke's was the cheapest by a margin of about $60,000.
Yes.
So, and we've been using Duke's for years, I know. I think a lot of other local cities use them as well. They seem like they're perpetually stationed in one of nearby hotels. But
they very well might be.
Oh, yeah. I see their trucks there all the time. But $60,000 below the next bidder and $200,000 below the highest bidder, so.
Yes.
That was all I had.
Mr. Karen?
Thank you. Yeah, Mike, looking at the map that you provided, and I'll echo Councilwoman Rusi's remark of we normally do get the whole RFP in that when things go out for bid, even on a zip drive, so it's unfortunate we didn't get that this time. But looking at this, I'm assuming the darker lines for each sewer, those are the ones that are going to be targeted as part of this bid?
You are correct, yes.
So even the areas that are shaded where they're not on the streets, those are not going to get looked at?
The shaded area is District 3, and then, the darker gray bolded lines are the lines that we're TVing as a part of this program.
Because I thought we had a criteria of we wanted every sewer looked at, I thought every 5 years is what we're targeting. And this doesn't seem we're keeping up with that. And that's basically from what we learned back in 2014 and 16 with basement flooding, that we didn't keep up with it on a 5-year cycle. So what type of cycle are we on that, just like, sidewalk inspection, that's on a 1 every 10-year cycle, tree trimming's on a certain cycle, sewer inspection ought to be on some cycle. So what cycle are we on?
So we're in District 3 right now. I believe there are 3 to 4 more districts. So this.
But this doesn't cover all District 3. The whole point is every so many years, and I'm looking for how many years we're on a schedule, that every sanitary sewer gets camera to see if there's any flaws, root intrusion, blockages, right? So we avoid issues in the future.
Yes. So, we're, given the money that we have, we are doing as much as we can per year. If we, need to try to
Sanitary fund
increase
shouldn't be a
that.
money issue.
Right, so.
The stuff of, we had some agreement after 2016, because in 2016, we went through and cameraed everything.
Okay.
After that, a few years went by, we're supposed to be on a cycle. And that was going to be budgeted in every year to make sure that, and I believe it was 5 years, I'm going off memory, but every 5 years, every sanitary sewer got looked at for any blockages or any root intrusion to prevent basement flooding. So I guess what I'll actually go back, work with Brian, and figure out what that should be, because there's budget, we put money in the budget every year for this.
Yes.
And that to cover to make sure that we prevent those problems going forward. So.
Well,
you
that's
can
what I
work
was
with
gonna
Brian
say.
to give you that answer.
I can
Appreciate it.
follow up with DPW and, you know, make sure that our plan is for, you know, every 5 years to have this city completed. And if not, you know, we can look at things and try to find the best way possible to make that happen.
And probably something to talk about at budget time too, so we see that and we see the numbers, et cetera.
And I know that, just to provide some information, that is the plan that we are on with the every 5 years. And this year's budget, we actually, if council remembers, when we went through the budget session, we set more money aside to actually do repairs because we were going so fast with the televising and the cleaning, we were finding so many repairs. So rather than keep putting money to keep working ahead, we wanted to put more money towards actually doing the repairs and actually getting the fix. So we did slow down the cameraing to get so far ahead because right now we have so many projects that we are working on that we didn't want to move so far ahead. So that's why we lowered the televising portion, but we are cleaning at the same route and we are actually repairing more sewers than we did in the past. And you'll actually see some of that coming in the very near future. But we are staying on that 5-year plan, and I'll make sure that that gets sent to council.
Okay, thank you.
And keep in mind, when we do other repair projects such as root treatment or lining, we're also still TVing and cleaning those sections of sewer as well. So we're kind of, you know,
Just
doubling up.
want to make sure that we're always checking every one of them every 5 years.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Ms. Burgess.
I'm under the impression, I hope I heard this right before, though. So we're doing District 3, we're doing the root cleanup, but we actually are taking pictures of District 4?
So we're doing TV in District 3. The root treatment from District 3 is based on videos that we had prior.
Right.
So this would just happen to be on District 3 for both right now.
Okay.
And you'll also see in the next one is actually some of the root treatment for some of the cameraing that we've already done as well. So they kind of somewhat tie together, but not necessarily the same. It ends up being the same vendor, but it's not always the same vendor. It's two separate projects.
This just happened to be
Just happens
due
to be
for
the
both,
same
yes.
vendor. Correct, coming up.
Mr. Rubello.
So District 3, it's going to be between 9 and 10 Mile Road, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Councilwoman Rusi asked a question. What's on the thumb drive that wouldn't be on here?
So the thumb drive would have included all of the bids from all of the vendors who did not get awarded the contract, along
Okay.
with the bid specs that went out. So it would have
Okay.
included the bid specs and all the, I would say not necessarily losing because they haven't lost yet, not the bid, but it would have provided all of the bid specs from every one of the,
Including the one, because we didn't get the one we're awarding to either.
including the one that was awarded as well. So it would include all the bid specs and the bids from each one of the providers.
And anything they submit in response to it.
And Duke's was by far the winner, correct?
Yes.
297, is that what it is?
And as far as the
Okay.
specs and everything go, so the specs are the same because it's just the project specs, and then it would just be each person's individual bid. And I apologize for that because the last handful of projects that I've brought, I have just kind of included the itemized bid tab.
Okay.
And, you know, I didn't realize that you guys necessarily like to see the actual bids as well. So again, I apologize for that, and I will add those for you guys in the future.
Okay, and 6A and 6B sort of work together, right? You do a surveillance
Separate
the year
projects,
before,
but
and then
yeah.
you come back and clean it.
They tie together.
And what type of results did you get last year? Was the cleaning? I mean, did we see a lot of stuff? Do we have a?
So, I mean, you know, we can see various things when we do the TV. It's, you know, sewers that need to be lined because they have, you know, maybe some holes in them or some displaced joints. We find roots.
Okay.
So, you know, based on that is kind of how we start to determine repairs. And that's also kind of why some of these projects overlap in the districts.
Okay, basically it's supposed to work like we do sanitary sewer cleaning, and then the root treatment the year after? Is that how this works?
Yeah, it would be
And then
if
it's
needed.
every other
we
year
could-
type of thing?
Yes, essentially.
Okay, and the importance of doing this is to keep the systems clear?
Yes.
Okay. And anything to add to that?
No, I mean, it keeps them clear. It makes sure that, we don't have any spots in.
Tree roots?
Tree roots,
and
displaced
broken
joints, holes, sediment infiltrating that would lead to sinkholes, anything that could come from, a sewer in disrepair that we would then be able to identify and come up with a
And the
fix for.
importance of this is it's preventative.
Preventative maintenance, yes, absolutely.
And I think the thing that stopped me last time, because I was a no on this, I know it came back again here tonight. Matt over there, you told me some good news about the chemicals. I asked a question regarding.
That would be the next one.
Right, okay, well.
But there is
sort of
good
looked
news,
at it
but there is
together.
good news on the chemicals, yes.
Okay, animal treated chemicals,
They are not.
no go, right? Okay.
One of the other key things too is when they are inspecting the pipes, is they are able to also see if any of the residential leads that are going into it have offset and have sunken. That way we will also send them a notice and let them know that as well. So that helps prevent any issues that the resident may have. So if you ever hear from a resident saying, hey, I got a letter that my lead is connected to the sewer has offset, that comes from us when we're actually televising it. We can actually see that as part of the picture. We don't camera their lines, but we can actually see where their leads come into the main sewer.
Yes, thank you, Justin.
Mr. Frederick?
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I was going to bring up that this does not include the line coming from the house. This is
Correct.
the main lines, but I would move to award of the sanitary sewer cleaning CCTV project to Duke's Root Control, Inc., in the amount of $327,483.50, which is that's that $297,712 plus a 10% contingency. So,
Support.
Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Ms. Burgess. Ms. Rusi?
Thank you. I'll vote for this tonight based upon the documentation we have currently, but I would like to receive the RFP and the bid specs for this one and for other items going forward.
I will get that to you guys tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 7-0. Thank you. Item 6B is the request to award the sanitary sewer route treatment project.
So sanitary route treatment, we came before you guys before with the HGAC buy program. We then put it out to bid upon request. Duke's Root Control was the only bidder, and their bid was about $13,000 higher than the program price. We spoke to Duke's, and thankfully they were amenable to holding to their HGAC buy program price. So we would like to move forward with Duke's Root Control for the root treatment program under that same price as they had before.
Questions? Mr. Ribello?
I got all my questions, I think, jammed into the first one and the second one. So I will move to award the 2025 local street reconstruction contract to Mark Anthony Contract in the amount.
No.
Where am I at?
6B.
6B, Dave.
Oh, 6B.
I mean, I'd
Okay.
like to have the additional.
Anyways,
work.
I'd still my previous statement. Oh, let's see, okay. Recommended award of the sanitary, okay, so I will move to award the sanitary sewer root treatment project to Duke's Root Control in the amount of $78,944.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Ribello, supported by Mr. Karen. Ms. Rusi?
Thank you. Thanks for putting this out to bid. It's always nice to see if we had any other pricing or services and anything that was interested. Now we know the answer is not this year at least.
The root control is a pretty niche thing.
Yeah, so it's good to see that this was put out, and even if they weren't amenable to holding the price, quite frankly, if we're HGAC members, which we are, they should be honoring the price anyway, but I'm glad to hear they're agreeing to that as well. Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 7-0. Thank you. 6C is request to award the contract for reconstruction of Wood, Princeton, Ursuline, and Greater Mac. Mr. Freckleton.
So our proposed reconstruction projects for this year include, as outlined, the small sections of Wood and Ursuline from Stevens to Blackburn, Princeton from 10 Mile to the dead end up to the elementary school, and Greater Mac from 11 Mile to Gordon. Mark Anthony, who we've worked with plenty in the past and, have satisfactory results, have a good working relationship with, came in as the low bid, which was good to see. And, we would like to award it to them. From talking to them, they can, get started pretty soon after the weather breaks, so we should be able to get these projects up and running pretty soon.
A lot of bidders.
Yeah.
Yes, there were a lot of bidders.
Wow.
It's always good to see.
Yeah.
Coming back.
What do you think that means?
Means it's a good project.
Good project?
We get
or less
competitive.
less work out there? I mean, I don't, it's been a long time since.
money's run out.
It's been a long time since we've seen 11
Oh,
bidders.
well, sure. No, again, I mean, sizable project, worth the contractor coming out and, working in multiple locations. If it was too small of a project, we definitely wouldn't have seen that. Too big of a project, you get into kind of the larger contractors who are all doing highway work and everything like that. So I think this was a perfect project for a lot of the local street kind of mid-size pavement contractors. So I think and when we're able to put things out to bid in kind of January,
Yes.
early February timeframe, a lot of contractors haven't entirely planned their year out yet, and so that is definitely by far the best time to get things out, and that's when we see things like we did with 11 bidders and competitive pricing.
Yes. Mr. Karen?
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple coordination issues just kind of watch out for on this one because of it's basically 4 different projects, right? Scattered around. One thing to keep on top of the contractor with is that they don't come in and do concrete removal at all 4 locations. And then go someplace else, right?
Not a chance.
Right, exactly. So we got to keep on them about that and make sure that, especially between Wood and Ursuline, that there's always access to that neighborhood from Stevens. I don't know what their plan is or what Fishbeck's plan is of whether they're going to do one intersection entirely, shut down one intersection and then go to the other one. So work that out with them to make sure there's always at least access to the neighborhood on one of them, right? And then also in terms of if they're going to be doing any, the ready mix batching that could cause if it's not processed correctly, it could cause the scaling, the flaking of the concrete that we, really worked to avoid last year. The smaller projects on here, they could be doing that. So we got to make sure Fishbeck is on top of them with that. They're making sure they're processing it correctly, not getting too much moisture into it, right, to avoid that issue. Probably not going to be a problem in terms of redoing Greater Mac because they'll be doing more of a paver system, right, versus a batch job. But really, for the smaller jobs, we got to watch them. Make sure we got good concrete coming in.
We'll review the mix designs and everything, and if there's concrete that they still can use that doesn't have that type 1L, and if they are proposing that, there's some additives and different mixtures now that the Michigan Concrete Association has kind of put out bulletins about. So yeah, we'll definitely be on top of all of that.
And we just got to be careful of those because
yes.
the additives aren't tested for 10, 20 years, right? And these are side streets, right? They're meant to last 30 to 40 years.
Yes, exactly.
And that, so we just got to be careful what they're recommending for additives, that they really are proven, and they're not going to deteriorate over time.
Yep,
right? So,
understood.
Cool, thank you.
Mr. Rubello?
Okay, so this is the one. I don't know, my packet.
Now's your time to shine.
Right, my packet it's out of order. I was looking at stuff from February 10th in here. Anyways, these streets that we have listed right now, this isn't our total 2025 list of streets that we're going to be doing.
For reconstruction, it is. For patching, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's more to go.
Yeah, we will have a whole patching program still ahead of us.
Okay. And, it's funny because what do you think the reason is for us getting 10 bids on something as opposed to sometimes we get just a couple bids, 1, 2?
It kind of depends on the project. For example, with root control and root treatment, it's kind of a very specific type of work. There's only a handful of local, contractors who are even remotely local who do that kind of thing. Paving jobs, there's there's paving contractors all over the place. And so,
Okay.
again, when we put out a bid in, middle of winter in January, early February, and contractors are still kind of planning their work for the year, we're likely to get a lot more on that, especially with kind of more of like a mid-sized project. It kind of makes it worth their while of being their, first project for the year.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I will move to award the 2025 local streets reconstructions contract to Mark Anthony Contracting in the amount of $1,687,565.00.
I'll support that.
Moved by Mr. Rubello, supported by Ms. Rusi. Mr. Vitale.
Yeah, a couple things, Mike. I don't know, I guess sort of paralleling some of the comments that Councilwoman Rusi made about being able to see all the contracts. Something else that we normally get, and I know, the last time I probably brought this up, it was Chris Ray's or someone else that was presenting this in front of us, but they usually tell us a little bit about what they're going to do in terms of trees on these road reconstruction projects. I know that one of these streets at the Ursuline, maybe Wood, is a very beautiful tree canopy street, the kind of canopy that takes 50 years to get. So is it a clear-cut plan, or are we going to try to save as many of the large trees as we can?
So the only one of these streets where we will potentially have to remove trees is the Greater Max section.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And we do have those kind of outlined, and I can definitely provide you guys that information. But yeah, Wood and Ursuline, we're not touching trees, especially because it's just those two short sections. We really don't have any need to do that. Princeton, there are no trees.
Yeah, well, and that was the second thing I was going to bring up. Princeton Street, maybe just if there's residents watching, because this is from 10 Mile to Dead End. It's not from Frazo to Dead End. It's from 10 Mile to Dead End. I think there's only 4 houses on that section of Princeton.
Okay. Yeah, 4, 5
after
houses.
I graduated. But, okay, so this won't be.
There's a skating pond when we went there, yes.
Yes, so this, won't be that 10 Mile to end of Princeton is not going to be a massive project. It's going to impact probably 4 homeowners there, but, okay, just kind of letting people know that. And if you could, in future contracts, kind of let us know the impact of tree canopy type of thing.
Absolutely.
And here's the other thing, the difference between, and it was great that we got 11 bids, the difference between 1 and 2 in terms of price was about $29,000. I know we've worked with Mark Anthony in the past and we've been happy with their work. I've got to tell you that when they did, I think they did Gordon a year or 2 ago, we had a lot of, because there was a grade change, we had a lot of issues. We had a driveway that got repoured like 3 times.
Yeah.
And that could evaporate $29,000 in savings pretty quick. Sure. I don't know anything about Zaminga Cement Company. But let's try to make sure, I don't think with these we should have any big grade changes like we did on Gordon. But yeah, let's make sure that if our inspectors are keeping an eye on them, if they have to get into people's driveways, because I don't want to go through. And I think all of council was probably out at these addresses. I don't think any of us wants to make any more driveway review pictures, so keep an eye on that, please.
Understood, will do. We always try to stay away from driveways where we can, so.
I understood, and I think it was unavoidable on Gordon to correct it, but just bringing that up.
Yep, absolutely.
Street got lowered.
One other thing, and it's not related strictly to this project, but it is related to road replacement. It's kind of a thought that entered my mind. With all the work that's going on along the nautical mile on Jefferson, we're kind of getting a little help from the county in terms of repairing that road. But there will be the section that runs from Martyr to 9 Mile, which is in pretty lousy condition, and there's no reason any of that's going to get touched as part of the county project. And there might be more for council in general. I'm wondering when that project is ongoing, if there is an opportunity to try to tag on, put that out for bid, and maybe that contractor, because they've got equipment in the area, could either do some patching on that, or, just the idea of potential cost savings.
Martyr to the south end?
Yeah, well, yeah, Martyr north to 9 Mile. so.
Well, again, it's, maybe 26 months or whatever, but.
Yeah,
Okay, understood.
yeah, I'm just kind of putting that out there as an
Understood. Yep,
idea.
yep.
Maybe it's an opportunity to get it done at a discount because they're on site.
Right.
I mean, put it out for bid, but.
Oh, yeah, we could always put
There
it
will
as.
be somebody that has an advantage.
We could always put it as an alternative.
Yeah.
I could always add it on to the
Totally.
9 to 10 reconstruction as an alternate or something
Totally.
like
Yeah,
you
and
just
my
said.
fear is that because we've done all this new pavement from 9 to 10, that like Martyr to 9 kind of gets forgotten about because it's such a short strip, but it's pretty bad.
Moved by Mr. Rubello, seconded by Ms. Rusi to award the local street to Mark Anthony Contracting in the amount of $1,687,565, which that includes the 10% contingency. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Thank you. And then if you would just get us back to us know a little bit about the trees, how many trees in that between
Yes.
11 Mile and Greater Mac, and then the replacements. I think we use 3-inch calipers, so
Yep, I will do that.
thank you.
Yep.
Item 6D is the contract for foundation work at the Selinsky Green Farmhouse. Ms. Pike.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I begin, I will also apologize for not including the bid document in here, although I did include the bid, the actual bid, but not the RFP.
We have the scope too.
Right. So what I am presenting this evening is the request to award repairs at the Selinsky Green Farmhouse to the chimney and also to shore up underneath the cast iron stove. We had a site walk on February 14th. 6 representatives from 3 companies attended, but only one company actually submitted a bid. That is Cyrus Masonry for an amount of $23,400. We are recommending awarding the bid to that company along with a 10% contingency.
I know we're talking about this, but tell me about the roof. Where are we at with the roof? Because is an issue too.
Currently, the roof is out to bid.
Okay.
We have a site walk on the roof on March 11th. The work that is being done here is actually to stabilize where the flashing would go around the chimney. So this work was important to be done in advance of the roof. We'll be bringing the roof to you in early April.
Okay. Questions? Ms. Rusi.
Thank you. This is important to maintain the structural integrity of the house. As
Absolutely.
I used to be the historical commission liaison until we did some switch ups, so I'm aware that this has been a issue they've been having their eye on for a while. So I'm glad to see it in front of us tonight. Just one quick question. I see we have the budget impact in the yellow memo. It doesn't state what account this would be coming from. Is it building maintenance? What?
So I do apologize. This will be coming out of our general government contingency fund.
Okay.
Yeah, there was not enough, and we're going to be doing the roof, so that's going to take away part of the Zelensky greenhouse. As council allocated 15,000, depending on what the roof comes in, it'll be that plus probably the contingency.
Okay, I know we have been discussing various funding
Yeah.
sources, so, okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Karen?
Thank you. Yeah, as the current liaison to the Historical Commission, this has been a topic for last year to get these repairs going, so greatly appreciate staff getting this done and getting this first step done. One thing is that when, after we get this through and then we get the roof bids in, we'll probably need to have a discussion because I did have a conversation with the commission because they do have an allocation for smaller repairs and they're also using for utilities. And basically, I broke the news to them of both of these other repairs come in, we're gonna go beyond that.
Right.
So probably whatever they're gonna have at the end of the year, we're gonna be probably zeroing out, but we're gonna need to just kind of get all that together for the commission after the roof one comes in, so we can take it to, so Stephanie and I can take it to the commission at one of their meetings before the end of the fiscal year, so.
And then we would like to continue to work with the board for next year's budget to be able to start taking care of the deck, the spindles, the painting, the windows, some of that stuff.
Yeah, 'cause
in next fiscal year's budget.
Correct, yeah, and that's some of the things that they are partially allocating some money for, or like the spindles like we already bought, but they're not installed. So we've got to get all that together in one document, working with Stephanie to get that organized for this year, and then plus, yes, going into next year would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Mr. Vitale.
Yeah, just since we had some talk about why we had 11 bidders for one project and only one bidder on this one, I'm going to speculate here that even though you did have 3 different companies come for a walkthrough, only 1 submitted a bid. And I'm going to say, after reading the scope of the work and having to make the repairs inside of closets and work in very cramped, very specialty, most companies don't want to take that kind of stuff on. So I'm not surprised that after the walkthrough, you only got 1 bid. So.
And I think maybe another reason, even though all 3 of the companies that attended had work in historic preservation, the work that needs to be done to the farmhouse is, as Mike had indicated on another company, it's very niche work. So, but I think you're absolutely right, working underneath the floor probably was a deterrent.
Yeah, I read about how it had me done and thought, man, I wouldn't want to do that.
And the day we did the site walk was a snowstorm, or the day after a snowstorm, so I'm sure that didn't help.
Mr. Frederick.
Thanks, Mayor. My only comment is I want to thank Denise and the mayor for your leadership on bringing this forward. It was extremely important to get this done. Yeah. Being on the library board, you know, we do hear about this stuff quite a bit in those meetings. And I would make the motion. I'm going to change the recommended motion from Cyrus Masonry to Cyrus Masonry.
Thank you.
So I will move to award the contract to Cyrus Masonry in the amount of $23,400 and allocating an additional $2,344 contingencies.
Moved by Mr. Frederick,
I'll support that.
supported by Ms. Rusi. Question by Mr. Ribello.
Yeah, these guys, I don't know, you've vetted them as far as
We have,
historical restorations and things like that?
correct.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 7-0. Thank you.
I would also like to give a shout out to Stephanie Fair, who has done
Oh, yeah.
a yeoman's share of work.
And Kelly Gooman, who's our curator over there as well.
Item 6E is request approval. Yes. Of changes in cost to 8 Mile Water Main Project. City Engineer Mike Freckleton. God bless you.
Okay, so for this 8 Mile Water Main project, from the beginning, we kind of took some lessons learned from our Stevens Water Main project and the issues that we had with the location of the gas main out there and not discovering that until we started the project. We proactively, prior to the contractor even mobilizing, made sure that we were in communication with consumers and basically had them ensure us that, okay, we have these records from you guys, that we have these misdig results. Can you confirm that this gas main is right here? So they said, sure, we'll go out there, we'll check it. Well, they do that, and sure enough, their gas main runs right over the existing water main. And the initial scope of work was to pipe burst the existing water main. That was based on the gas main being, you know, on the other side of the street or not really within the limits of our existing water main. So pipe bursting would have potentially caused damage to the existing gas main that's out there just to the pressure and the debris from the existing pipe being, you know, shoved upwards. So we immediately had to change the scope from pipe bursting to directional drilling. The price that Bittigary initially had for directional drilling was much more expensive due to the low quantity of it on the project. But, you know, we kind of negotiated with them, we talked to them, and since we were upping that quantity, they were willing to match the price that they had given us on the Stevens project for directional drilling instead, which was about $290 a foot versus $430 a foot that they had proposed for the 8 Mile project. So we do appreciate Bittigary for working with us on that, but due to that initial scope change, we pretty much ate up the 10% contingency right off the bat. So then when Bittigary was working in the area of 94 to do the directional drilling underneath that, there's a water main that runs, you know, kind of northwest along 94 there around that like apartment or condo complex, and then, you know, back into Salisbury where we needed to locate in order to tie in. Well, based on our, you know, GIS records, that the location of the water main did not match. And that could have been from, the development of that apartment complex, potentially moving that when they, had to do their tie-in. We aren't really sure, other than just the fact that it's an old water main. So our water department spent a lot of time out there helping to locate it as well, to try to, limit contractor expense and everything like that. But they did still have a couple days of downtime and just, exploratory, vertical exploration, trying to find that existing water main that they had to tie into. So that was item number 2, which also incurred additional cost. And then item number 3, this happened just last week when we got to Harper. In order to make that connection there to the existing water main at Harper, we discovered that more of that line than what our as-built record showed was the 1930s cast iron water main. Our as-built records from 1989 showed that we had the 1989 ductile iron water main coming down Harper, making a couple bends, and then going into 8 Mile. Well, there's a hydrant kind of right at that gas station there on Harper, and that's where that ductile iron water main stopped. So it was actually cast iron from 1930 instead of 1989 ductile iron around that bend and back to 8 Mile. So we need to replace that, because otherwise we're going to have a new water main, and then a small section of old water main. And due to the different sizes and just the newer pressures, we would most certainly have just countless water main breaks on that old main. And again, very tight area there with we have those little half moon decorative concrete walls, and a lot of traffic signal, electricity utilities, some more gas mains, things like that in that area. So it's going to be a bit of a slower operation and just very tight and confined and needing a lot of safety measures in that area. So that's kind of the reason for the price on that one. But we do need to replace that small section. And so we are, the initial project cost was awarded at $601,000 with the contingency. We're looking at, about $794,000 now with the additional work. Some of the time and materials work from items 2 and 3, we may be able to negotiate a bit with Gary. We were able to do that with some of the stuff on Stevens. So we will definitely speak with them. We will definitely try. Hopefully we can bring some of that cost down a little bit. But as of right now, these are the additional overruns that we're looking at, and, we would like to get that approved by City Council.
Mr. Karen?
Thank you. So the 8-inch cast iron line that was found, is that all along been feeding the previous 8 Mile water main that went to the neighborhoods on the other side of 94?
Yes, and that is why we were upgrading that.
Right, okay. What was the diameter of the prior water main that was there, going underneath 94 to that neighborhood that we're replacing?
There was no water main going underneath 94.
Or what were the previous diameters that 8-inch line was feeding into? Because something's got to go across to feed the neighborhoods across 94, right?
No, so I think it was 2, if I'm not mistaken, it was actually kind of 2 separate loops, and we were adding the line underneath 94 to make one larger connection.
Oh, okay, all right. Because I was first seeing that, thinking of, well, if all along we had an 8-inch line going into a bigger pipe, then that would be our pressure issue, but that's not the issue. Okay.
Correct, yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Frederick?
Thanks, Mayor. So on the numbers here, we've got 3 items. You've got 53,000, 54,000, 138, and those add up to about 246, something like that. And then we're adding that to the 601, 558, And did that 601 include the 10%, or
The
is it 10%?
601 was including the 10%, yes.
Because, so that, would that 10% come off of one of these other ones then?
No.
All right.
Well, it wouldn't come off of it. It was essentially that, like, that first scope change that we had to do, that first 54,000, that pretty much used the entire 10% contingency. And then it would be the items 2 and 3 that would be additions to that 601 essentially.
All right, so really, we're just approving 2 and 3 as an addition,
Yeah, in a sense, yes.
but you're just outlining the fact that we had this other.
Yes.
This is where the contingency went, okay.
Correct.
Because if you add them all up, it comes up to 848 as opposed to
Right.
793. Okay. I'd move to approve.
Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Ms. Burgess. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Mike. Item 7 is consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Kieran, supported by Mr. Frederick. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Item 8 is updates and follow-ups from prior council meetings. Mr. Lent.
Ms. Rusi requested that the Consumers Energy Public Safety number be added to the city website. The Communications Department added the Consumers Energy Public Safety number to the CDI main page under contracts. Ms. Rusi asked staff to continue working on the zoning ordinance numbering. The city planner and the city clerk are reviewing the requirements for notifications and renumbering and will be moving forward with the process. Mr. Karen requested the voter count for County Commissions District 9 and 13, specifically in the split areas of Precinct 5 and 6. There was a typo on the list of precincts. Attached is a correct version. The split is actually in Precinct 7 is for the State House of Representatives, not for the County Commissioner. In Precinct 7, there are currently 4,182 voters, 2,130 in the State House District 12, and 2,052 in State House District 13. 2 different ballot styles will be required only when the State House races are on the ballot, which occurs every even number year. Ms. Rusi requested the removal of the word food next to ice cream trucks in the business license ordinance. The word food was removed for the revised fee structure sent to the clerk's office. Mr. Wabi and Mr. Wabi and Mr. Ribello requested to receive the draft letter regarding the business license fees before it's sent out. The draft letter was provided to council on Wednesday, 2/19, asking for any modifications. By the end of the day on Friday, 2/21, no modifications were received. Ms. Rusi asked staff to review ordinance section 10-781 concerning special events, with particular attention to the Memorial Day parade vendors. The ordinance concerning special events is currently under review. Ms. Rusi pointed out a typo in the total amount listed in the recommendation for item 9B, noting that the correct total should be $179,477. The amount was corrected on the 2/18/2025 council meetings. Ms. Rusi requested more details about the cost share agreement with Macomb County Departments of Road, specifically regarding the bidding calculations. We're working with Macomb County to confirm the cost estimate. Mr. Karen noted an error in the bills regarding the payment to Cunningham and Lemp and DTE bills for overhead power line for Central Station. The Finance Department and City Manager are reviewing the budget, and all costs related to the police and fire project are being tracked for total cost. Mr. Ribello.
On that one?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So that wasn't the question. The question is that there were 2 charges that were listed under building, or 3 charges listed under building repairs between the 2 departments under police and fire. And the question was, why weren't those being listed under either the ARPA, it'd be Fund 285, the ARPA grant capital projects, or whether they would be under the building projects, which, what is that?
Yeah, CAP project, public safety.
CAP project, yeah,
buildings.
415 CAP project, public safety buildings, versus being in the police and fire section.
Okay. I will specifically say the ARPA projects, the budgets to Cunningham and Lemp, the actual contracts, are being tracked underneath the ARPA. A lot of the soft costs, and that should be underneath the capital projects for building. So everything is kept together. So I would double check on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really, anything that's being charged through Cunningham Lemp should show up under ARPA. And every other contract that is part of moving expenses,
Like soft cost, yeah.
is going to be under the building.
Capital
The 450.
projects part. Now, there are other areas, for example, in our budget, we put a rent in there because we are renting St. Lucy's. That's technically part of the project. Even though it's in the budget, under the police budget and the fire budget, it's being tracked there, but we do have a sheet at the finance department that is tracking all projects.
Why wouldn't we just automatically be charging that to the soft cost then? Rather than,
We can't, it was already in the budget, is why, because it got approved in the budget for the rent portion for St. Lucy's. There was actually a rent category for the 115 when we went through the budget process.
so move it to the other account.
We can, that's what I'm saying, it was
Yeah,
just,
I think it's just cleaner of it, anything that's associated with the the new buildings and all the soft costs are just automatically in those other accounts rather than being mixed in with police and fire expenses. Just keep it all separate.
but
Because it's nice it's on a different spreadsheet, but it ought to be in the finance software that way.
I can only follow where we budgeted at with council, and that was approved budget. So if I want to make the modification, we can. I just would have to take it in front and do the budget amendment to move it out of there and move it into the other account. We have no problem doing that. It just has to come back in front of council as a budget amendment.
All right.
Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yes, Ms. Rusi?
Hey, Cunningham Limp, you said would be under the ARPA grant cap projects?
Correct.
We have Cunningham Limp for 183K under a cap project, pub safety buildings in this set of invoices we have. And we have the soft costs under ARPA grant cap projects.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Yeah, we have Ray Electric and Spectrum Wireless under ARPA grant dash cap projects. And Cunningham Limp for 183K under cap projects dash pub safety buildings.
So if it's the soft costs in regards to Cunningham and Limp's engineering cost, then it would go underneath the soft cost. Only the cost of the building construction, the demo, what we approved with the construction cost is what's gone underneath ARPA.
Okay, but the line invoice description says GMP Fire Station 1 construction. And it's under cap project dash pub safety buildings for Cunningham Limp.
So I have to look at the invoice. It might be their fee, though.
Okay.
But I'm saying it might be their fee for their
Okay,
fee.
yeah, because it says construction,
Yep.
it could be a construction fee, but the invoice description isn't very clear as to
Gotcha.
what that 183
Yep.
is. If we could get some clarification, thank
Sure.
you.
Sorry.
You're on number 10.
Thank you. Mr. Rebello asked if the staff could look into the cost of straightening the intersection at 9 Mile and Greater Mac. Chief Allen spoke with the Macomb County Department of Roads traffic engineer again. The roads department owns the traffic signal at 9 and Greater Mac. They have reviewed the intersection before and still believe no change in the signal is merited. The city could pay them to conduct a traffic study, but the results would indicate that no change is merited.
Mr. Carey?
Yeah, just on that one, I think additional conversation been having with Denise and Mike, because they say with that intersection, it doesn't, that doesn't qualify or anything. I don't know another intersection where there's not a left turn lane, where there's not some type of left turn arrow, and, we have that on 9 and Mac Drive, Cavalier Drive, where it comes into Greater Mac. We have that at 13 and Harper. I know, like, for example, Utica and Masonic is that way, where there's no left turn, but it has one-way traffic, or traffic goes with a left turn, and you don't have opposing traffic coming at you. So I think we ought to go at the county a different way of pointing out that, show us another intersection in the county that's like that, that does not have to where you have a left turn and people go in one direction. Because I think any of us that have driven down there, if you're in that left lane waiting to turn, you're always getting traffic coming flying in the right lane, getting around the left, people trying to turn left.
Yep, certainly don't want to make a left with a truck and looking at you.
Right. Or even like, you could have a truck on the other side, blocking a smaller car that's gonna go in the right lane, come flying by, right?
Totally.
So I think the county ought to come back with, hey, what other intersections set up that way that does not have that configuration like 13 and Harper does? Because I think that's all we're asking to mimic.
Mr. Bello?
The reason why I brought it up a few different times is you have some folks down there, especially the folks at Royal Bryant Ford, they watch this all day long, and, there's a lot of near misses. There might not be a lot of collisions, but you know, it's a blind
Yeah.
turn. And I think all of us realize that there's something not right. And if that's the solution, that would be, you know, a great one too, because it definitely needs something there. Because it's just, everyone knows it's just sort of concocted a little weird, the angles. Thank you.
And the final question, Ms. Rusi requested regular email updates on the police and fire renovation projects. Weekly updates will be provided to council, especially now that we are in the demo and the whole process.
Rusi.
Thank you. Well, my point was more that we do receive weekly updates, and we did receive that week, actually, a weekly update. I think the day of, the questions started coming from residents about the house move that we had been unaware of, that was a change to the project plans that we had. So I guess I would revamp how it's worded to complete email updates, regular and complete, because it didn't seem like we had received it. And I also had requested too with me that it's not indicated during on the memo, the contracts and, you know, the documentation related to that issue. And I will say, and this is kind of a jokey observation, but having the question marks with assigned categories, Hennessy engineer question mark and question mark city manager doesn't inspire confidence, but hopefully that can get resolved as to who will be making sure that we get them. Like I said, we have been getting them, but they just need to reflect, I guess, a more complete picture of what's happening and what's been changed, if anything.
Yeah, and I apologize for the questions. The
No.
clerk just put all the questions
I
together.
thought it was fun.
Sometimes
I'm sorry, I just thought it was funny when I saw it. It's like, well, this doesn't inspire me, but I thought it was funny. I knew it was just left there by you guys working on the draft.
once I usually assign it, I usually take off the question
I-
mark,
I
because then I know
figured
who
it
it
was a
went to, and that
process
one's on
issue.
the other page and didn't get processed.
I just thought it was funny, so I usually don't smile reading my packet, and I did. So, thank you.
Item 9, comments by individual council members. Mr. Rubello.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to throw a congratulations out to the Lakeshore High School Shorian Bowling Champs. I know we have an alumni here, so.
I wasn't on the bowling team.
Macomb Area Division Champs, so congratulations to a new champ out here. I wanted to thank the CDI. I noticed today that there were some signs out on Jefferson indicating, you know, the businesses are there, the businesses are there. So at least an alert to the drivers. So thank you, CDI, Denise Pike up there. I wanted to also had a question here for, not a question, but the Memorial Day Parade is on Sunday, May 25th, and somebody asked me the question, when is the fundraiser at the VFW Post? It's on May 1st, okay? That's what I was texted.
May 1st, Thursday, May 1st at the VFW.
Is that what it is, Mayor? Thursday, it's a Thursday. Okay, also, I want to welcome back to the parade the Detroit chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. So that's a great addition to any parade. And we had I thought, a productive meeting today with the CDI department. We've all sort of wondered about maybe the expedition of some of the process of opening up your business. Denise Pike, thank you for your wisdom, and I think there'll be some productive, positive things that come out of that. I was with Ron, and we had a nice meeting. Thank you for your time. Okay, so I had a chance to go to St. Margaret's, and they're doing pretty good. Their women's basketball team.
Is that Jim Lewis?
And that's Jim Lewis, St. Clair Shores Hall of Famer. Too bad we couldn't get down a little bit. Is that, can you see the bottom of our feet, the court? That's the Jim Lewis court. And he said, put that up on the city council meeting. So Mr. Lewis, there you are. That court's named after him. So, anyways, there's the missing S. Thank you for finding the missing S of the Shores Madrid.
It's in the attic of the farmhouse.
Me and John went back a few emails with this, but there it is, hopefully to be displayed someday. And that's our old Rosemary Orlando, and we found it. I was fearing that at the worst it was lost, but there it is. And it was on grounds. And Lake House, there he is. He's taking a picture of me. He's welcoming everybody. It's not open yet. Jefferson, north of 9 Mile Road, the Lake House. And there he is. And he's happy as a singing bird to be in St. Clair Shores with a couple of different places.
Is that Johnny Black?
So, it's Johnny Black's. That's his. Okay. St. Isaac Jokes this past weekend. I didn't get a picture of Candace, but she was there. We had a great time. It was what's it called? The disco auction. And too bad we can't get a close-up. That's Linda right here and her husband, Rick. And I guess it's 1976 all over again. We had a great time. St. Isaac Jokes hit a grand slam. And what's his name? Mr. Selby, Patrick Selby. Incredible. Incredible MC for the night. Had us all laughing. Yeah. So, is that it? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Rusi.
Okay, thank you. Just congratulations to St. Isaac Joe's for their disco auction. It was very well attended. So many raffle prizes and everything, lots of donations. It's nice to see the community really come out and support the kids. Dave won a watch. Dave's not wearing his watch. Linda is wearing her bracelet, though, that she won. So
I won 4.
Linda won 4 raffle basket prizes. My sister won 2. Dave won 1. I won 0, but that's fine. It was fun seeing everyone else win. And it was very well attended. People were really getting into the spirit of the event. So, again, it's nice to see people come out and support one of our schools and parishes in the community. Just one quick event announcement. Spaghetti dinner to benefit the VAD, which is Volunteers Assisting the Disabled. They help people with muscular dystrophy go to camp and things like that. It's at St. Clair Shores Eagles, Greater Mac, Saturday, March 8th, 4 to 6 p.m. Spaghetti, they have meat and meatless sauce, salad, breadsticks, only $15, kids under 12, $5. And they have breadsticks and salad provided by the East Point Olive Garden as a donation. So come out and help support the Volunteers Assisting Disabled group at the St. Clair Shores Eagles Spaghetti Dinner this Saturday, March 8th, 4 to 6 p.m. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Karen.
Thank you. Matt, please bring that up. Thank you. So, after a few emails last few days talking about potential Headley overrides of millages and that, kind of just wanted to go back over a history of what our city property tax rates have been compared to the revenue, and went back over the last 11 fiscal years here. But I think there's a bit of a misnomer out there because we always talk about how there's a Headley rollback and the millage rate gets a bit reduced. That doesn't mean there's less revenue. What Headley does is it caps the increase of the revenue from a millage, so to the rate of inflation. And because we have other revenue streams that come in, namely homes that get uncapped when they're sold, that they're going to be paying more taxes, then when that all gets added up, it could potentially reduce the tax rate for everyone else because it's limiting the revenue to the rate of inflation, which this year is going to be 3.1%, which is what all the assessments had, because we're now going to get all those questions coming in since those just went out last week. So if you can go to the first one. So basically what I did, going through each millage rate that we have, going back over 11 fiscal years, and you do see, so this is for the general operating millage, as the millage rate has gone down, the revenue actually significantly goes up over all that time, especially over the last couple of years where Headley's not limited by the 5%. So if we had 7% inflation, the revenue could go up that amount. So over since fiscal year 2015, in general operating, we've had 3.2 million more this last fiscal year than we did back then. That's basically a 38% increase. Matt, next one, please. Look at the police and fire operating millage. This one's a little different because we did, unanimously agree to put it on the ballot for a significant increase. It was a little less than 2 mils. and council agreed to put it on for 5, and the people voted for it, which we're greatly appreciative of. But what that's yielded over that time is that even though that rate has gone down since 2018 to this year, the revenue is still significantly up. It's 6.8 million more than 2015, a 254% increase in that millage. Next one. Police and fire pension, or the Act 345 millage. This one's a bit different because this rate gets set based on what the calculation is for retiree health care and pension costs each year, which we rely on actuaries for, but there's also other funding formulas that are there. And as you can see, the annual amount that's coming in has gone up and down, as you see in the orange line, as the rate has bounced up and down. But still, since 2015, we have 5.7 million more in coming in on that one, or a 72% increase over all that time. Next one. Streets millage, we had 2 different votes on that one. Again, one year we increased it from 1 mil. We asked voters for 1.25. They agreed. Another year, in fiscal year 2021, we asked for it to go up to 1.75. The people agreed. And then that's come down a bit since then in the rate. But again, in terms of the amount of revenue coming in, it's $2.1 million more since 2015, or 160% increase over that time. Next one. Sanitation millage. Basically, this has been regular reduction each year. But as you can see, we've had 1.2 million more in 2025. So a 38% increase over all that time. Next. Library, very similar thing, 37% increase over that time. Smaller millage, so 462,000 more this year as compared to fiscal year 2015. And next one, then next 2 are unique. The debt, this is basically what we use to pay for debt through the county, namely for infrastructure projects. So that can change each year, but again, $1.2 million more than what we had in 2015 in terms of revenue, or a 213% increase. And next one is the Lake St. Clair Clean Water Initiative. Again, has regular reductions in the rate over the years, but $1 million more today than what we had in 2015, or a 38% increase. And this last one is the total. So if you add all the millage rates together, so even though we're only 3.5 mils higher than we were back then, when we were adding all these up with the voter approved increases and changes in the police and fire millage, pension millage, we are taking in 21.3 million more today from the residents, from taxpayers, than we did in 2015. A 75% increase. So I just bring that up because it sounds easy when you're being told, well, it's only 0.2 mils here, 0.3 mils there, but these add up significantly when you put them all together. All the different funds, all the different increases. Some of these are not voter approved. The debt in Act 345 are driven by what the actual costs are. So I think we just have to be a little careful of, before we start talking about asking people for more money, to remember how much money they've already given us over all these years compared to where we were. And I'm grateful for all the ones that they've approved. This doesn't even include the new street millage, which did go up as well. But we got a lot more work to do before anyone starts talking about asking the people for more than what they're currently given in terms of the inflationary increases that come in today. So switching topics, back to, this is on the pier, and I asked Rob to get with Mike to find out kind of the concrete mix that was used, but this is basically in the section between the boardwalk and the walkway. The concrete's flaking off. And basically this sounds like the water additive issues that we've been hearing about, you know, that if it's not treated right, that the top layer will start flaking off, and it's doing that significantly on the pier. So Denise, if you can follow up with Rob and Mike basically I think I asked Rob to get with them to find out if we've got any history of what concrete was used and how it's processed, and I don't know if there's any like treatment we can do to kind of stop it, the flaking, but It's fairly significant down there right now. Okay. Next, couple other follow-ups. Back on August 19th, at that council meeting, I brought up asking what the communication strategy was. It's still waiting for that document.
It's in process.
It's been in process for 5-6 months.
Yeah, it's a big document.
Well, maybe I can at least get a draft to
Let's
see where
have
it's
Mr.
going.
Yeah, let's have Mr. Lent.
So, and then a couple of months ago, I'd asked for a policy for the boards and commissions of the secretary positions, which ones were being handled by staff versus volunteers on the committees. I was promised that by early March, so still waiting on that. And Abby, something to follow up on the minutes for September 3rd on the website. They were missing. It still had the summary ones because I was hunting through all the minutes trying to find the 8-mile water main project thing and just stumbled across that. So if you can please look into that. And also on the January financial reports, if Dustin, you can follow up with Brian. With the amount of water main breaks we had, I was kind of surprised. I looked at the water fund and it only showed like 24% of overtime was used on the finance so far. That just seemed low for the amount. I know they got to be putting in a bunch of overtime fixing all these leaks around. So if you can follow up on that, 24% just seemed very low for this point of the year. And last is, again, thanks again for the getting the repair started on the Selinsky Green Farmhouse, and the Historical Commission would be very appreciative here that has started. And they do have an event at the Selinsky Green Farmhouse this weekend. The authors of the book, Irish Immigrants in America, A History in Stories, are going to be present at the farmhouse for a 1-hour lecture on Saturday, March 8th, this Saturday at 2 p.m. No registration required. Anyone from the public is welcome to attend. And that is all my comments for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Frederick.
Thanks, Mayor. So, John, can you be so kind as to send us a copy of that little presentation? And I don't have a lot tonight, but I know the fish fries start next Friday. And I haven't heard anybody say anything about fish fries yet. So I know St. Isaac's of Bruce Post, St. Margaret's of Scotland, and I'm sure there's other assorted ones out there. And I know all the restaurants have great deals on them too. But let's support our local fish fries because first off, that provides money for a lot of the programs, and it also it's usually a great dinner and a great place to meet and talk. And here's some other things that are happening around town. So. Fish fries, St. Isaac's, the Bruce Post, and St. Margaret's. And I just want to say they start on Friday. I know St. Isaac's does not do Ash Wednesday. They used to, but they don't do it anymore. So, all right. Sorry about that, but Stephanie did send me a couple of pages of library comments, but I can take some out because John mentioned one already. So, all right. Hey, let's join the library in celebrating March's Reading Month. Every patron checkout goes toward completing our community stick-together image. Think paint by numbers, but with stickers. We also will be having a giveaway for contests for gift cards at the Circ desk and on Facebook. So look out for those and how you can participate. We're also having a bookmark contest during March that invites patrons to design a bookmark with the theme Libraries and Community. Entry forms with the bookmark templates are at the information desk. Please complete them and return them by March 31st. The Friends of the Library will be meeting on March 12th at 1 p.m. in the library meeting room to discuss The Covent of Water by Abraham Verghese. No registration is required and all are welcome to join. Join the library for the Huron and Clinton River watersheds and the history of Metro Parks presented by a representative from Lake St. Clair Metro Park on March 22nd. That's at 2 p.m. Attendees will learn about the natural and cultural significance of the watershed system and how its unique topography has shaped the parks we enjoy today. Registration begins March 8th. Teen volunteers are needed, and they're definitely needed at the following sessions. Think Spring Story Time on March 8th from 2:30 to 4:30. Teen Volunteer Session on Saturday, March 15th from 10 a.m. to 11:30. And the Process Art Program on Monday, March 24th from 1:30 to 3:30. Teens must be between 11 and 18. Registration is required and available online through the library's website. You can also do it in person or by phone. That number is 586-771-9020. Take and make bags for kids ages 2 and up to make a paper cup penguin are available starting today. Bags are available in a bin inside the youth services room and are available during library hours while supplies last. Registration for Messy Makers on March 18th at 2 p.m. begins March 10th. This 30-minute program for kids ages 3 to 5 will be messy and full of hands-on exploration and experimentation to create works of art. Adults must stay with their kids and get messy with them.
They have to sign a waiver, too.
Yeah, and a waiver for the messy.
Harmless agreement.
So children ages 5 to 10 are invited to get messy and make art at the Process Art Program on March 24th from 2 to 3, and children will be able to make 4 different messy art projects through hands-on exploration and experimentation. Again, registration, all the usual ways. John, you just mentioned historians Aaron Ross and Pat Commons will be at the Selinsky Green Farmhouse this Saturday, and they will also discuss the Irish immigrants. Friends of the library are hosting a crafting session. Participants will learn to craft flowers for baskets and bouquets. Registration starts today and can be done online through the library's website or by all the usual ways. And the sessions are Friday, March 14th from 10 to 12. And then from 1 to 3. And then we're going to ask you to join the hundreds of residents already enjoying our newest database called Comics Plus. With Comics Plus, you get unlimited access to thousands of digital comics, graphic novels, manga, and picture books. No wait lists, no borrowing limits. Visit the library's website and find it under online resources to start reading today. And Mayor, I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Vitale.
Yeah, I'll keep it short, just a couple follow-ups. I did ask, and Denise did answer at the meeting regarding Shores Theater and what was going on there. Can we get something, a follow-up in terms of what permits are open, what's expired, progress, maybe whatever communication you've had, I'd like to see that. Also, I know we had a house demolition on 11 Mile. I think the last court date was in February, so we're in March now. I don't want to put anybody on the spot unless they know how that came out in court. Otherwise, just reply to me through email.
We'll send an email
with a follow-up on that. And that was it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Burgess.
Oops, forgot to put my mic on. I'm going to make mine short, too, because I told Mayor we're going to be out here by 8:30.
Never do that, please.
I am on the board of the Crisis Club, and we are having our 31st annual Spring Sport Night. It's featuring the men's college basketball championship. It is an amazing event. I have gone for about 10 years now, and I absolutely love it. We're going to have 50-50s. We're going to have also squares, bucket raffles. We're going to have wheelbarrow cheer, 2 of them, wheelbarrow cheers. It's going to be a great night. It is at Mark Uri Catering at the Greek Assumption Church off of Martyr, and it is April 7th, and it starts, doors open at 6 o'clock. It is a great, great event, so if you're into basketball, it is $100 per person. It is an open premium bar, full dinner, plus at halftime they're going to have coney dogs and pizza. So if you want any information, you can call 586, what number did he put on here? 241-2411. Ask for Rick Burgess, my husband. Again, 586-241-2411. And I also want to bring up the St. Isaac's fish fry because they have lots of gluten-free items this year. So they're going to have swordfish, and they're going to have lobster tail, so it's going to be a really good Lenten season. So I also want to say hi to John, our new finance director. I'm glad you're here today, and welcome. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Item 10 is City Manager's Report.
No report.
Item 11 is audience participation. You have to give 5-minute time limit. Do we have anyone here for audience participation? You're good, Mr. Owens? Okay. Thank you. Mayor's comments, I don't have any, so we'll have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Kieran, supported by Ms. Rusi to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Good night.